Okay, so I'm back with another video. It's 9:25 a.m. and of course it's January 23rd. It is Friday. Friday morning, so I just uploaded a video and so I'm making another one. I don't know if you can hear me from this distance. We'll see when I play this video back, but I was sitting in my room listening to some music, which is very common. I pretty much do the same thing every day. And I realize how tired I am of doing the same thing every day. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a relaxing environment and everything. It's just that being too relaxed for too long could get very, very dull and boring. And I know that the message I keep getting is something about my father's apparition. Now, I do believe that Bruce wanted me to stay away from people, stay out of public eye because of my father's apparition. That is Bruce's opinion, okay? And I feel as though that this should have been, number one, it should have been mentioned to me, okay? I should have been, directly informed. And I kept thinking, why wasn't I just told? Why didn't I think Bruce wanted to have control over the situation, and because he looked at my life as different. But like I said, different is subjective. I think people who practice polygamy is subjective. Is different. That's a different, unique lifestyle. And of course, the reason why my life is unique and different is because of me being a victim of MK Ultra. I was basically set up for this sort of nonsense. Okay, so that is not something I should be penalized for. So anyway, and also I feel as though Bruce felt very competitive of me, and he felt as though if I realized perhaps that I had this sort of power, he felt as though this was going to be some sort of like ego builder. And I think what Bruce's main goal was to try to tear my self-esteem down. He wanted to hurt me and destroy me inside out. This is the reason why he conducted this operation out on me in the first place. Mind you, I don't really associate my father's apparition with my self esteem. I look at it, though, as a feeling of a confirmation of love that I've received from someone who has traveled with me throughout my different incarnations, and that is something very grateful for. But I also do not know, nor do I have any idea as to when my father appears. And I do believe that the majority of people cannot see the spirits with their naked eyes. Some people have that ability, like I talked about my mom's sister Pearl, who has that ability. But I do believe that this particular apparition must be specifically and primarily picked up on camera, right? Okay, so if it's primarily picked up on camera, that should not affect my ability to work in an office. I do believe that Bruce wanted to keep me basically all to himself, for prevent me from having, friends, and of course any sort of romantic relationships, because that would affect his ability to have possession over me. He was somebody who was pretending to be my husband, and he wanted full control over my life. I am beyond angry about this. And he also, was, manning my career as if it was something that he should have taken charge of. I'm beyond pissed off. Okay. Yes, I am one of those weird people, who got affected by being a victim of MK Ultra, leaving me very vulnerable to all kinds of abuse. And unfortunately, this is exactly what Bruce did. Okay, he abused me. So, like I talked about, looking back on some of the members of 533 as well as Bruce, I know that I was persecuted over this issue of marijuana. I can't tell you how many times I saw Jim Culligan partake of marijuana, talking about marijuana, and of course smoking marijuana. So why is it that it's okay for him to do it but not me? And so Bruce, I would like to say, number one, comes from a Jehovah's Witness background, and he does not understand how things relating to the occult works. Okay, so he was under the impression that perhaps maybe marijuana was making it so that my father's apparition was appearing. He also thought it had something to do with the food I ate. He also, everything that he did, I mean, he was coming up with, this is not the explanation as to why my father's apparition comes. My father's apparition comes before my safety. It would matter if I was smoking weed or not. Okay, I resent Bruce attacking weed, because weed, I don't like to call it weed, okay? I would say marijuana is my number one mood modifier, mainly because I deal with beyond depression. If you realize that everyone that in your life was stabbing you in the back, if you realize that your family was, you know, very warped, they didn't care about you, they weren't even your family, they were actually trying to force you into some sort of weird cult group, right, so that they could take advantage of you, that would cause you a lot of depression. It would also cause you a lot of depression if you realize that these people were talking about you in churches and indoctrinating a bunch of people against you, okay? So I will tell you that is very disturbing to a person, okay? Coming to understand that there was some sort of propaganda that should have never happened in the United States of America, directing that sort of negative attention to an individual, but yet somehow or another I had to put up with it. I'm pretty sure that warrants a person needing some sort of depressant, okay? Antidepressant or whatever. So in my case, because marijuana is used also for medical purposes, I choose to use it specifically for that. I don't believe that marijuana has the same sort of euphoric feeling that it used to have for me, so it's no longer used really for what do you call it, recreational purposes. When I was younger, I would say marijuana hit me a different way. You know, it was all laughing, giggling, blah 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 blah. It had a very euphoric feeling, but now it doesn't. It's just mostly something that helps with my mood and to help me get some sleep. And see, Bruce was digging into my life too much. Like, and I know that he was monitoring what I ate, what I bought. He, you know, he somehow had the ability to interfere with my credit cards. He prevented me from working. I talked about me having a Patreon set up a while ago. Remember when that got sabotaged? He was at the heart of all of this. And my feeling is that, of course, I am beyond angry because this man was not authorized, nor did I tell him to assist me in any way. And the message I'm getting right now is that people who disappointed me in the past know it is impossible for me to even like or trust him again, and I'm glad that they know this. It's really important for me to not see these people. I don't ever want to see these people ever again, okay? And I'm disturbed that some of these people are still walking around, okay? But I need to just move on from it. I'm tired of people, you know, trying to affect my life. And no, I do not forgive the fact that you were trying to manipulate my son. I will never get over that. The message I'm getting right now is that me and my father are soul travelers. We are attached to each other through love. Yes, love is important. Love is lacking all in this cult group, okay? And what it is about, it's about their own financial security, their own specific needs. This is one of the reasons why I look at this group as completely narcissistic, thinking that somebody would be willing to assist them in the manner that they were requesting of me. That is the most absurd thing I have ever heard. As far as I was concerned, Bruce was married to Sarah, making their life. I figured Sarah was working at Camping World. Bruce was working at that place. He was a sound technician. I figured they had their life together. That was their little life. And then when Houston would visit San Francisco, I figured he would be visiting his father as well as his, you know, I guess stepmother, and I recognized that they were spending time together. I never considered myself family with Bruce. You know why? Because I never married him. That's why. Okay? So I feel very angry that Bruce and Houston were not spending time just getting to know each other, spending time like, you know, maybe going to maybe Bruce's raves or whatever. It angers me that Bruce used the opportunity and the relationship with my son to sit here and try to use me for my resources. This is something I am never going to forgive, ever. Okay? And the fact that people thought that I was into some sort of polygamous. See, this man destroyed my reputation. That's what he did. He destroyed my reputation. And so this is what I'm talking about. Like, for example, when I walked into my job, my new job at the time, at BT Trucking, right? So when I first got there, there was like this dispatch room where like like this is the original office that it was in when it was located on District Boulevard. I walked in and everybody's got get this look on their face, the kind of like ha ha ha, and the kind of like eyeballing each other because people believe that I was actually doing this sort of stuff. And the fact is, no, I'm not. You know, I'm not polygamous at all. Okay. Yeah, me and my father, I believe in love, okay? So I care about the emotional well-being of the people that I care about, okay? I do not want them to ever have to suffer the things that I had to suffer. So, of course, when I think about how Bruce is, like, you know, exploiting my son in the manner that he was, as well as he was using my son specifically for his intent was to harm me, okay? So, yes, I recognize Bruce as an evil person. That's exactly what he is. And yes, Houston has every right to support his mom because yes, I was just looking over, cleaning up some of my flash drives a couple days ago, right? And I realized, yeah, I remember I used to bill Houston each month for when I was working at BG Trucking and I was supporting Houston. So yes, Houston owes me money, and I feel as though what Bruce was trying to do was absolutely selfish on his part. Now, I need to go out and make my own money, and right now I feel as though my son could use my help. I need to help pay for the rent. I need to help pay for expenses. I need to do my part. And originally, this was the apartment that I rented. I rented this apartment by myself, okay? And then Bruce had it so that Houston ended up moving in here, right? And so then he wanted Houston to move into my apartment specifically for the purpose to monitor me. Okay, like I said, that is, I resent Bruce trying to interfere in my household. Now, I did not know that Bruce was a part of, well, I didn't know he was in charge of, like, this. I figured Rashawn was, and I figured all of these people, but now this whole Bruce issue, I am beyond angry because, like I said, 32 years ago, I told my mom I didn't want anything to do with this dude, and then I find out that he has access to things that are entirely too important to me. No, I am beyond angry. I am beyond angry, okay? And so it's important for my son to know that, you know what? It's not his fault. His father was manipulative, and his father used religion as an excuse to sit here and manipulate him. And so really, and the sad part is that my son has been exposed to him for very many years, okay? So now, my son needs to understand that that is not the proper way that you behave. It's not the proper way to behave. Now, yes, I am, I do not believe that my father's apparition is something that is going to should be preventing me from going to work. Why? Because I do not believe that most people can see my father with their eye, with their plain eye. The message I'm getting right now is something about the Swan Song Manifesto, being able to have interviews for that. Okay. Now, when it comes to my father's apparition, I don't believe everybody can see that. I don't believe that they can. I don't believe that I don't believe that is. And whether they could see it or not, I mean, somebody's got to be able to be into that. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yes, my son is somebody who got brought in. Bruce used my son, as well as he used other people to convince my son to give him them trust, and it was just Bruce was setting my son up to be deceived. I am shocked. I am disturbed. I do not feel safe after dealing with this, and I had talked about this issue. Maybe it's because I didn't know exactly that Bruce was playing such an integral part, and I didn't know that I was being sucked into this polygamy lie. Okay, so I don't know when I addressed Karen Doe, people like city council before. I don't know. Maybe see, this is the danger of this is the truth though. This is the danger of being interconnected with white people. And I'm not being racist, I'm being realistic. Okay, I was basically telling people that I didn't want anything to do with Bruce. And because he's white, people just immediately assume that you're lying. They immediately assume that he's white and therefore you want him. I'm tired of people thinking this. I'm really tired of people thinking this. I do not want Bruce. I would never want Bruce. Okay, it's like are you really willing to sit here and put up with that kind of abuse? What? Because he's white? Is it because white opens doors? I don't care what a person gives me. I don't care if being with the white man is going to get me millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. If I have to be with this person every day, look at this person every day, adapt to a lifestyle that I don't want him. Okay, and so this is why I hate it when other people get involved in people's personal lives and their personal issues, because they end up doing things that prevent people from exercising their own right. Well, here we had a community that was assisting in a forced marriage, practicing human trafficking out in the open, and forcing me into a marriage to somebody who terrifies me. And see, I'm beyond pissed off. Okay, and so the issue was something about the marijuana thing. I'm sorry, I hurt no one by smoking marijuana. Okay, I'm going to say this again. I hurt no one by smoking marijuana, okay? But what the community did to me hurt me, okay? So what I'm saying is when it comes to morals and ethics, okay, I look at it as what other people do, as long as they're not hurting other people, then you go ahead and do whatever, okay? But what these people were doing were hurting me, and I wasn't hurting them. Do you see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about when it comes with morals and ethics, okay? So yes, I'm beyond pissed off because all these excuses are just exactly that. It's excuses, okay? Me smoking marijuana doesn't hurt anybody at all. Okay, so the message I'm getting right now is that people do acknowledge the fact that I do have very high ethic morals. I do have high standards. I have, respect for people that I care about. If I love you, then you are placed upon a pedestal. And of course, love is something that is very protective. No, I don't want people I love to suffer. I'm angry that, and rightfully so, I am angry what Bruce did to my son. I am angry that Sarah came in and wanted to play stupid games, okay? Nothing ever indicated, there is nothing I have ever done to Sarah to indicate that I ever wanted Bruce. Nothing, okay? Not a damn thing, okay? I've never sat here and like looked at Bruce's pictures on his on his Facebook. Okay, I know that he and I were Facebook friends. Okay, I never sat there and looked at his profile. I never sat here and looked through his pictures. I never sat here and tried to follow Sarah on Facebook or social media or cause problems for her at her work or anything. Okay, I just knew that Bruce was married to Sarah and that was it. Okay, and I figured when Houston went to go visit them, that if they, as long as they had a nice time and Houston came back home, whatever, you know what I mean? I seriously never gave any thought to these people. Okay, but these people have been watching me. They've been sabotaging me. They've been hurting me, and they've been harming me, and they've been damaging my work, my projects, and acting like they could just absorb them. And then what also disturbs me is that they could sit here and create this lie to where I'm supposed to be married to Bruce, and I'm supposed to rearrange my life to be forced into some sort of marriage that I would have never consented to. Hell yeah, I'm beyond angry. I am beyond angry. And because, like I said, they wanted my son to monitor my behavior. This is what Sarah wanted to do. So they wanted to monitor my behavior, right? Sarah and Bruce are putting pressure, we're putting pressure on my son to monitor my behavior and change my life. And because I caught on, right, they wanted to punish Houston. Hey, believe me, Houston was just trying his best. He did. He tried it. He's tried it with the cashew thing over there at Bell Terrace. And I right then and there, I was like, you know what? Something is going on. These gang stalkers are bringing their shit into my home. Hell no. Okay. And number one, like I said, there's no way in the world my son has the right to tell his mother anything what to do. Period. Okay. And just like I don't think my son's a grown adult, he does not need his mother telling him what to do. And the fact that Bruce was sitting here trying to get custody of my son is a 32-year-old man. Excuse the hell out of me. You cannot sit here and expect to get custody of a 32-year-old man. By the time he's 18 years old, he's an adult. He does not answer to no one. Okay, so Bruce to me was somebody who I look at is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Okay, so going back to the Swan Song Manifesto, Bruce was instructing people to not communicate with me. His reasons were because obviously we had doctrinal differences. Bruce does not understand things like astral projection. He doesn't understand things like anything relating to mysticism. There are some Christian groups that do understand. Of course, to me, mysticism is at the heart of any sort of religion. You're sitting here talking about God, an unseen being, an unseen force, unseen things, okay? This is the very heart of it all, okay? So, but still, Bruce doesn't have an idea. So he likes to theorize, why, okay, he wants to punish people for things like astral projection. How does astral projection affect him? If I astral project out of my bed and my body every single night, how does that affect him? How does it affect the neighbor? Now, it would be different if I astral projected out of my body and then, went through the wall and then started hanging out in the neighbor's house, okay? Then I can understand that. But trust me, nothing like that ever happens, okay? So how does my astral projection affect him? It doesn't, okay? Now, when it comes to religion, I would say, I gave an explanation as to why I believe astral projection occurs, and based on the times that I've experienced astral projection, which has most of the time been involuntary. Okay, it usually happens like when you wake up and you're in a certain like mindset state, and something like this happens. Okay, I really do believe it has a lot to do with people not being comfortable within their situations here on Earth, and this is what makes them want to escape for that certain time to actually go into their spirit or their ethereal body. This is my theory, okay? Is that something that offends God? No, it doesn't. So what's your problem? So what's your problem? See, and so Bruce did not understand C.B. Berganza. And I would say a lot of the stories surrounding C.B. Berganza were rather fabricated. For example, okay, I don't believe C.B. Berganza could fly. Okay, I don't believe he could. Now, I do understand when they talk about astral projection, some people refer to astral projection as flying. And the reason why is because you're in your ethereal body and you can go to different destinations, right? Without, any limitation, right? So in that sense, possibly flying. But from the intuitive messages I get of what people believed C.B. Berganza could do, they actually thought that C.B. Berganza could fly. Like he could just like get on the ledge of a building and just like spread his wings out and just like fly. I highly doubt that. So throughout time, people have mixed up a lot of, folklore into the story of C.B. Berganza, or exaggerating things, especially people who do not understand mysticism on any level. They're going to come up with some of the biggest, most outstanding, stretched out lies or exaggerations that you can come up with, and that's exactly what I think. C.B. Berganza was just somebody who was just very much into his own thought process, which I am as well. But anyway, I know that C.B. Berganza, one of the things that he did face in the past life was this issue with marijuana, and I believe that he had great respect for marijuana, and I do with Maria Gordon as well. I do, and I'm sorry that people brought this out because I would prefer people just not know that. You know what I mean? Because I'm just somebody who just wants to go to work and come home. I don't want to get into political issues. I don't like to sit here and argue or debate over, my personal choices, nor do I expect other people to argue and debate over theirs. You know what I mean? I think everybody has their way of monitoring their mood or keeping their moods in check. Some people who are wealthy, they could, perhaps maybe go on vacations or do things like that. Or, go see a therapist, even though in my case, a therapist would be pretty much worthless. But anyway, my use of marijuana is something that I believe is personal. Okay, it is completely personal, and it was not. It's like I don't go around promoting marijuana. I don't go around telling people to smoke marijuana or anything. You know what I mean? So Bruce, what this was Bruce's a form of exploitation. I know that for a while I was being monitored, watched, surveilled in my workplace, even in my homes. I do believe even in my cars. I believe that Bruce was, exploiting me. He was exploiting me, and then trying to, gain, no, build his reputation on things and build community, a sense of community, friendship, and off of the exploitation of me, basically, is what I'm believing. Okay. And I believe that him and Sarah were enjoying this sort of sick thing. So this whole idea of me being married to Bruce is a lie. You know what I mean? And I'm very upset because I think of leaving Murray Family Farms, and it was been a nightmare for every single minute. Every single thing has been a nightmare since leaving Murray Family Farms. It's been one traumatizing thing to discover after another. And when I get down to what the big reveal is Bruce, trying to force me into some sort of stupid cult and acting like I'm, in a polygamous marriage. I'm just absolutely disgusted, and I'm shocked, and I'm just like, I'm disturbed by it. Like, because, I never realized Bruce was that sick. That's sick to me. That's sick. It's very sick. That, and it's warped, you know what I mean? And then the fact that he would, put this sort of pressure on my son and normalize it as if, my son's supposed to be bullied and disrespected for, not abusing his mother, because that's exactly what it is. It's abuse. Obviously, my son knows that I believe in my lifestyle. Obviously, my son knows that these things are important to me. So he's going to sit here and put the pressure on my son to sit here and try to bully me. Okay? And yes, he was sitting here trying to prevent my son from giving me money, when in fact, I was the one who was prevented from having any sort of income when he took me out of the workforce. Okay? Now, I'm like, well, hey, if I need money, I should be able to go to my son for money. You know why? Because he owes me. Okay? He owes me that money. And I'm not sitting here, I would prefer my son not owe me money at all. You know why? Because I never asked to be in this situation. You know what I mean? So what Bruce was trying to do was his reasons for preventing me from having money was so that he could have me in a vulnerable position and abuse me. That is what it is, okay? Because everybody here in the state of California, as well here in the United States, is eligible for employment, unless, of course, they have some sort of legal reason to not be working. And I have every reason to work. So I'm very upset with what Bruce did. And, I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that people will care more about employment law. Okay. And the reason why is um, because this sort of abuse is wrong. It's wrong to sit here and think that you can just throw penalties on people just because you feel like it. No, there's reasons why things are made into the law, and people will abuse their so-called authority, and this is why it's put in place. You know what I mean? If I had to identify what sort of violations took place with me, and there were too many violations, okay? And that, the issue of me having this issue where Houston was being bullied, and his money was being taken from him so that he was not being able to support himself, all because Sarah and Bruce wanted him to support. That is just wrong. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that yes, they were trying to destroy our life, okay, and trying to force my son into supporting them. That is wrong, 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 wrong. And it should be a big red flag to anybody that yes, he was abusing my son. Okay. And so, yes, my son has been very helpful, but it's time for me to support my own self. So, it is what it is. And I'm tired of me dealing with these problems and this stress because of me not being able to trust people to protect other individuals. You know what I mean? Like when I think about the workplace and how they easily let stalkers into the workplace, it is very disturbing. I had talked to my boss a few times, and Angelo, and then also Jackie, and all these people about me being concerned about stock. If you were a woman all by yourself, how do you think you'd feel if people would sit here and allow you to be exposed to people who abused you? I mean, they literally normalize it, or they assist these people in stalking other people, and I'm telling you, it's wrong. It's wrong, okay? So I'm a single woman, and I am somebody who is very protective of myself. I don't appreciate people trying to force me into marriages or people trying to get close to me for the sake of, just bullying me or trying to get my resources or anything. Of course, I need to protect myself, okay? And the sad part is I don't think Houston really realized that, yes, his father was a criminal. Okay, his father is a criminal. His father meant to do harm. His father, by putting this into place, was not thinking about Houston's well-being. Okay, he obviously was not. Bruce was thinking 100% about his own self, his selfish needs. So yeah, it's heartbreaking for me to understand, for my son to understand that Bruce was an asshole. Anyway, something about my father's apparition and Bruce wanting to be a part of it. Yeah, you know why Bruce isn't a part of it? Because he's not my family. That's why. Okay, it's fine if he wants to spend time with Houston, or if he wants to spend time with Houston or whatever. Not one time did I ever think that Bruce was my family. Consider Bruce my family. I never thought that perhaps maybe Terry and I should sit down and spend some time together because I looked at her as family. I looked at Terry as Houston's biological grandmother. Terry meant nothing to me. Okay? And I understand my little viewpoint is very strange, but you know what? When I realized that I did not want Bruce to be a part of my life because of the abuse, I made a point to prevent me from ever having to deal with that sort of abuse. And I'm angry that he was allowed to slip in. I'm very angry about that, okay? But no, I mean, I'm not legally bound to any of these people, and people should learn the difference. So when I talk about the moral reset, about people learning about respecting boundaries, understanding, certain legal things, okay, like what constitutes a marriage? What constitutes a marriage, okay? People in this community were taken advantage of. People in this community participated because they didn't know, okay? And then also the fact that, I don't know why the Swan Song Manifesto was so important to this community and why they helped Bruce, get along with this, all because of the Swan Song Manifesto. Obviously, the Swan Song Manifesto belongs to me, and no, he was not my husband. You know what I mean? He wasn't my husband. But anyway, yeah, I'm very, very disgusted by Bruce, and I am not a polygamist, nor do I ever want to be. I don't want, my son to think that, trapping women through employment is something that anybody should do. Okay, it's traumatizing, it's terrorizing, especially when you're all by yourself. You know what I mean? And then people can sit here and do this sort of stuff. I mean, it's just wrong. It's wrong. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Today I'm just kind of getting together with my thoughts. I know that this issue stagnates my process. Yesterday I just got on and started looking for some jobs and stuff, but it is traumatizing for me to look for work. It is traumatizing, and I have to sit here and like literally, hold myself to either even contact people or whatever, okay? Because this whole situation is very weird, okay? And I'm not comfortable with what Bruce did. I'm not comfortable with what he did and his motives behind it, okay? I am not comfortable with any of it. So like when I encountered that girl over at Creative Financial Staffing, the weird one who was sitting here lying to me with that look on her face, that it's a very deranged look, okay? And when I think about people who are willing to do this for Bruce, okay, I'm disturbed by it. Okay, I'm very disturbed by it. I'm not comfortable with it. Did she really think that I was supposed to be happy that they were playing this game? Did she think that I was supposed to be like, oh, Bruce is, making her do this? Did she think that I was going to be happy that Bruce was sitting here stalking me? Or that because, I should be happy that I could be a part of Sarah or whatever? To me, they were either a part of it in a malicious way, or were they actually thought that I wanted to be Bruce's wife or one of his wives? Or no, I would not. I'm traumatized either way. Whether Bruce was, whether that girl from CFS thought that I wanted to be a part of Bruce's life, or that sick cult. I mean that sick. What do you want to call it? Polygamous relationship. No. Okay. Or if she was just doing it to be malicious because she knew that Sarah was sitting here trying to bully me. Either way, okay, I'm not comfortable with it. Okay, I'm not comfortable with any of it. Okay, and I'm tired of dealing with encountering weirdos like this. And be honest with you, that girl at CFS should lose her job. You know why? Because she should have not participated. She knew I was uncomfortable with it. I don't like it. I don't want to have to deal with it. And something about the Swan Song Manifesto, like I said, what does a free newsletter? Why sit there and put so much emphasis on a free newsletter? Okay, and I think it's because this proved that I was somebody who was able, right, to have a better profession. It showed how it shows how talented I am. Okay, and so this is what made these people bully me and support Bruce. That was evil. Okay, as far as that girl at CFS, I would fire her instantly. Why? Because I would fire anybody who participates in this nonsense. Why? Because they know they shouldn't have done it. There is no excuse for what she did, and I'm tired of dealing with people and their incompetence as well as their weird warped motives. Okay, it is what it is. So I'm going to wrap up this video, and I'll be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye.